Do you have any old coupons from Bed Bath & Beyond? Remember those big oversized?
magazine
It's not the oversized.
Oh, that's the cardboard ones.
Yeah,
yes,
the
I remember those.
That never expired.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you think about that, think about now how Bed Bath & Beyond just bought Fathom Real Estate for $53.4 million. The main three items was roof, the HVAC, the air conditioning system, and then there was a rat infestation, rat poop everywhere.
Yeah, and they're going to chew away your insulation.
Yes,
yeah.
And so
that's the big thing with rat guys. If you guys don't if you ever navigated that, rats chew apart your insulation. They're like, what is it, Jesse? They're like immune to it. Fathom Real Estate had $420 million in revenue, is taking a $20 million loss, and just got $2 million in bridge financing. $2 million when you're generating $420 million annually and you're losing $20 million. Do you understand what your burn rate has to be? A $2 million bridge loan is like shooting a BB gun in a freight train. That means that Fathom Real Estate was in incredibly deep trouble. Like really, really, really deep trouble.
DFW, turn it up. This week in DFW Real Estate. The weekly podcast built for agents who actually get paid. Market moves, listing heat, closing streets. DFW agents. Let's eat.
All right, welcome back to another episode of This Week in DFW Real Estate. Hopefully you caught last week's episode, and if you didn't, you need to go back and watch that one. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a comment. Because last week, Brian, if you recall, we talked about, because you were here.
I was.
Yeah, you were wearing your Mexico jersey.
I was. Mexico won.
Yes.
They play at 8 p.m. tonight.
Do they? Mm-hmm. Who do they play?
South Korea.
That's right. My hair lady told me that because she's Korean.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think they win. They'll probably win group if they win this one, because they got 2 goals last time. So they're doing good on goal differential. Okay.
So you want to go back to listen to last week's show. We talked about the great agent displacement, 200,000 agents that have left the National Association of Realtors membership, whether they just left altogether or just dropped that title. It's left to be unknown right now, because I think, again, some of them are just joining the MLS.
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about that, but I don't know how we could find that data. It might be local somewhere, like how many agents just left NAR versus how many left the business. And that's also, that doesn't take into account agents that are still in the business technically, but they just haven't done a deal. And that's a lot of agents this year as well. So the herd is thinning, regardless.
Yeah. And then, again, on last week's show, just a quick recap, how you had built using Claude, and we did an AI summit yesterday. We had a little over 100 agents were there. The room was packed. Mm-hmm. And we had some great speakers. I'll tell you, from that AI summit, Brian was one of our guest speakers, and he shared how he's been utilizing Claude and AI agents, how he rebuilt the Homeward website, Homeward Property Management. So if you're looking for a new property management company, or maybe you've got a client that needs to rent out their house and have professionally managed, then you need to go to homewarddfw.com and talk with Dana Wynn and Duncan O'Donnell over there. But Brian, you relaunched and rebuilt our Homeward website. And normally that would have probably cost $10,000?
$10,000.
$10,000. Yeah. So you would have spent $10,000 plus on redoing that entire site, redoing the pages, making it more SEO, GEO, and AEO friendly so it can be found online a lot better.
Yep.
The first day you launched it, how many organic leads did we get?
It was like 4 or 5. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. What's also cool is that, this is we talked about this yesterday, like your ability to build things using AI is really limited only by your own curiosity and your willingness to just be resilient and figure it out, like one thing at a time. Not only, and this is going to be relevant to agents as well. Not only did we rebuild the site and it's much more effective, much more streamlined, much faster, and ranks better, but we've built systems that continually do the site maintenance and keep it updated and keep it fresh and keep new content coming on. It's really cool. Was working on that late last night. how it keeps the site updated and posts new content and things like that on a regular basis. I am now working on a way to do that where it doesn't suck up a lot of tokens. One thing, this is deviating, but just remember this, as you're working more with AI, in the future, token efficiency is going to be incredibly important. So be thinking about how you can do things with AI. And then as you build like agents that do repeatable things, when you need to make adjustments or change things, don't start over the entire process. Learn how to just fill in the gaps of what you're doing, because man, does that thing suck tokens up when you ask it to repeat itself and kind of run the process again.
I think that's the whole kind of scam that AI is doing.
It's a beautiful scam.
The businesses are, right? So we'll be in that subscription model the rest of our life. But today's show, first off, while we're going through, there was another merger that went down. If you saw the meme post that I posted on it, and the real estate group DFW Realtors, just go join that group, be a part of it. And we've got over 35,000 members in there and growing, anywhere from loan officers, new real estate agents, veteran real estate agents, you name it, we've got them in there. So come join, collaborate, and share, and network. But the Fed had made their announcement yesterday. So we're going to break into that. But you need to support the sponsors of this show. Please, 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 because Brian and I don't get paid to do this. We just do this for fun. So Armadillo Home Warranty, Theron Smith over at Armadillo. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the best home warranty companies, the only home warranty company that we would ever let sponsor the show. If anyone else, any other warranty company even offered double, triple what Theron and his company was willing to sponsor for this, we'd still turn it down because they're crap. Go to armadillo.one and then connect with Theron Smith on Facebook. You're going to love it. Your clients will love it. They'll thank you later. I was out to dinner with some friends. I think I told the story last week. And they had Armadillo and their AC went out and they were thankful to get it covered. There was one little hiccup they needed. And it wasn't Armadillo's fault, but I got on with the call with Theron and got it taken care of right away. Nice. So, as well as we already mentioned Homeward, best property management company here in Dallas-Fort Worth, homewarddfw.com. And then if you're needing any type of remodeling, maybe your air conditioning went out, maybe you need plumbing, remodeling, roofing, you go to ProCare Home Solutions. So ProCareDFW.com. Chris Troop and his entire team will take amazing care of.
100%. What do you think Jerome Powell was doing yesterday?
He's probably drinking.
Maybe drinking? He's probably reading. He seems like a guy who'd be reading a book, or he seems like one of those guys that plays remote chess against people. Like where you do one move and then email them what you did, and then they do a move. And I bet he had like 30 of those games going.
He does seem like that, but I would say we can't judge a book by its cover. He's probably had rap music on.
Yeah.
And he had his glass of whatever choice of liquor.
Yes.
And just listening to the new Fed chair and go over really the same thing that I'm sure Jerome would have been doing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Jerome was fired, basically, pushed out because the new Fed chairman comes in with the hopes, everyone's hopes of them lowering rates.
Right. And immediately does not, and was a little bit, I wouldn't say hawkish, but just another kind of hurry up and wait. Cadence, Mr. Kevin Warsh comes in and they immediately do nothing. Poly Market has got it at 77% right now. That will pause next month as well. Some are even predicting that maybe we'll see a 25 basis point increase.
Yeah, 22% increase. There's 22% of people betting on the poly markets right now are saying that they would, most likely see an increase. And then you got the small single percentage of people saying that we'll see a decrease. Which we're not. Look, I'm going to go with the 77% that we will see nothing in July.
I can't rationalize why we would see a rate decrease absent some big event or something for the foreseen future. We keep hoping that rates will come down. And I think that we sort of keep hoping that rates will come down in this very American way that we're addicted to cheap money. I think that we just have this zeitgeist that lower rates is always better. It leads to an inflationary environment over time. We've seen that time and time again. The whole reason we're in this mess in the first place is by printing too much cheap money and then giving it away for free. So I don't know why we have such short-sightedness that we never seem to get over, that lower rates is always better. But it seems like we've been hoping for lower rates for a long time. I think we're going to continue to be hoping for lower rates for a long time. Nick made a comment years ago, like 2022, as rates were really increasing, that he was afraid of a kind of a stagflationary environment. And I don't know that we would say this is a stagflationary environment because we don't have high unemployment. We actually have really good employment numbers. But we do have the hallmarks, some of the hallmarks of a stagflationary environment, in the sense that wages and asset prices remain out of whack. And I think that that's still going to be the case for a while, because people still have a lot of equity tied up in their primary residence. They're hesitant to sell for a lower price. Prices have trickled down, have flattened again. Inventory you're seeing is continuing to climb, and absent rates coming down, I think it's a buyer's market. We're shifting to a buyer's market. Buyers are going to be patient, and I think the only thing that you're going to see when it's as it pertains to the housing market is a period of wages eventually catching up with asset prices, and that means asset prices will continue to remain flat or even trickle down more. And then it's just a waiting game, and that's sort of a stagflationary environment when it comes to the housing market.
Well, I mean, one big thing to take into account is, I mean, I was talking to a buyer today. We're needing to get her price range up, and we're needing to get her price range up. But she mentioned the potential moves the Fed was going to make and lowering.
Yeah.
Because we've been banking on Kevin to come in and lower, because that's all we've been hearing.
Right.
New Fed chair, the pressure's going to be on, and he's going to want to come out of the gate, maybe looking good for the administration.
Yep.
But here's kind of a big takeaway, is that 9 out of 18 officials said we need to hike the rate, right? So the dot plot that shifted from projecting cuts to projecting a hike. So this is a reversal from 3 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
So back in March, right, the median dot showed rates at 3.4% by year end, which would be a cut. Yesterday, it moved up to 3.8%, which is a hike, right? So in 90 days, the committee is now flipped from saying, all right, we're going to start cutting rates, to now saying we need to actually increase it.
I don't blame them for saying that, by the way. We live in a very fast-moving and volatile global geopolitical and global economic environment right now. We got a hot inflation report, and the hottest levers on the inflation report were energy and everything everything related to the conflict in the Middle East, which we don't know when the next event that will affect inflation will be after this, right? And so when you have a singular event like the Iran war that gives us a inflation reading that is, what was it, like 50% higher than estimates, and it was up from 3.6 to 4.7 in one reading or something. Oh, no, it's 4.2. Okay, so you're trending, almost a half BIP in the wrong direction. I don't see why you would cut. I don't know why anyone would be thinking about cutting rates right now as inflation is increasing, even though we will get a better inflation reading next month, because the conflict has come to some sort of a, whatever we want to call it, agreement. I don't want to say an end, but an agreement. But it just shows the fragility of the global economy. And in that fragile state, I don't know why you would pump more cheap money back into the system. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the other interesting thing that the Fed chair did, they do these dot plot, kind of the survey, right? And Kevin didn't do his.
Kevin didn't do his?
No, because his statement on this was he refuses to do the dot plot forecast because he publicly acknowledged that he was the one missing the projection, and said that he does not find this exercise helpful for policy making.
Bro, I am a mad Kevin Warsh fan right now. I love that. If you get a chance, read The Signal and the Noise by Nate Silver. It's all about predictions, probability, and it focuses a lot on the the politicization of forecasting and why it's wrong almost all the time, and all the different reasoning behind why our models are so off. Some of it has to do with just ignorance. Some of it has to do with marketing. Some of it has to do with bureaucracy. It's all very interesting, though. I highly respect a guy that comes in and says this is a dumb exercise because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I really like that. I think that's awesome. Jesse pulled this over the background. You know where Jerome was yesterday?
He was there.
He was there.
No, he's still part of it.
You know, you don't have to come to these things anymore.
I think he's still a voting member, if I remember.
Yeah, he's just not the chair anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing is as we break it down, I mean, inflation was still the driving factor. I mean, it was up, running at 4.2%. That's more than double the Fed's 2% target. And the other thing, the Fed has now upgraded their 2026 inflation forecast to 3.6%, which is up from 2.7% in March. So the main driver was the Iran war, drove up energy prices. And like you and I talked about yesterday, Brian, that damage doesn't reverse overnight. Because my comment was, and logically I know this, but, is like, all right, we get into this Iran conflict, and then all of a sudden gas prices and oil prices shoot up overnight. And that's not a real reflection of the cost to get gas or the cost to get that oil. No. And so the gas and oil industry is making money on that gap. Yep. Then everything gets higher. They're still making money. And then even as it starts to fall, gas prices are falling overnight. They're still selling off on the higher price stuff.
100%. You're not going to see it come down in a straight line because you still need the capitalistic race to the bottom. Let's say something costs $2 and then it goes to $4 overnight. And then whatever it is that was causing it to go, well, artificially to $4 overnight goes away. Well, let's say there's 10 competitors in the marketplace. All 10 of them aren't going to go, okay, let's just go back to $2. You're going to see the first mover goes to $3.99, second mover goes to $3.90, right? Because we were still paying for it at $4. So this is just the law of capitalism, right? You're not going to see gas prices go right back down to $2. It doesn't make any sense. There's a big arbitrage play for the oil and gas industry right now that is the race back to zero or race back to neutrality. So don't expect gas prices to go down significantly for several months.
What do you see over the rest of the year? Like, so, if you're betting in poly markets, is your bet that we are going to see just no change for the rest of the year, or are you leaning towards an increase?
I would never put money behind this. I think people that do are a special type of crazy, just again, because we have no idea what's going to happen day to day in this world. If I were to make a bet right now with free house money, I would bet no change for the rest of the year. Absent any outside event that we can't predict, I don't see why you would. Or you just people got to make enough money to buy things, and wages have to catch up to asset prices. And absent anything else, that just takes time. Adjusting rates doesn't affect those things, and I just don't see why you'd bring them down.
Yeah. So what I see this as in our DFW real estate market, if we're advising sellers, I mean, the selling market's tough right now. And we said this yesterday on Tamara Gady's podcast, the closing table with Lawyers Title, is that my belief, and this is not trying to blow fluff or motivate and just, try to get us all hyped up. I truly believe that our stock value as real estate agents is at an all-time high. And I've said it in the past. I said it during COVID, where we needed to navigate all those channels. Like during the COVID market, everyone was like, "Oh, you don't need real estate agents. You could fog a mirror and get 3,000 offers." Yep. But what you had to do is figure, the agents needed to go do the due diligence to find out during that time what was a legitimate offer versus some of the ones that were just trying to tie it up and maybe beat them up and bully them down and et cetera. Sure. And then for, during the buyers, for buyers during that time is how do we realistically find a way to get you in a home that you're not going 200,000 over asking. Instead, you're going 150,000 over asking. Now, looking back, now we're seeing some of those people who, drastically paid higher for their house upside down and underwater. But that was that market. That was a different time. But I do believe that today, with buyers and sellers, that agents' stock value is at an all-time high.
Agreed 100%. Agreed 100%. I had a slew of coaching calls this morning, and a few of them in particular, one in particular, we were having a conversation without diving too far into people's details. A seller trying to navigate this market in a way that if their agent had not given them expert guidance would have cost them a lot of money. Essentially kind of still had a COVID mindset and was under contract with a buyer that had a realistic mindset about this market. That seller is in a situation where this is going to be their retirement. Everything that they sell for, those proceeds are going to be what they retire off of. So every penny really counts for them. And I understand and empathetic to those things, but they were on the verge of blowing a deal over a little bit of stubbornness that with their days on market, with the other inventory in the neighborhood, my firm belief after looking at it is that the next offer they would have gotten would have been for substantially less. And they were really close to blowing it. And their agent did an amazing job of helping navigate that and bringing everybody to the closing table. That could have been a tens of thousands of dollars bad decision for that seller. And I think a lesser agent would have probably just been in yes man mode and really maybe hurt their sellers.
Well, I think that, again, what you just used as an example, I have a personal one where I'm representing, we shared this on Tamara's podcast yesterday. So whenever that comes out, Jesse, is that out in a week or so? 2 weeks. So 2 weeks. Probably the 1st of July. We're going to be July 4th week then.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to be celebrating the 250 coming out on Tamara's podcast.
Nice. I would have dressed different.
Yeah, we should have known that. Thanks a lot, Jesse. So, I shared this on her show that you and I did yesterday, which was, I'm representing an elderly, disabled military veteran, and he put a home under contract. First off, the negotiation that we went through took 2 weeks. So it took 2 weeks to finally get under contract. This home that my buyer had made an offer on was on the market previously for several months. They took it off, it expired, and then a new agent got it. And we came in with a relatively not a strong offer that would blow them away, but a good enough one to open the dialogue and saying, hey, we're serious. And it took 3 days for the agent to counter back, first off.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, how serious is the seller?
Right.
They countered back with cutting, with raising the sales price, cutting the seller concession in half, cutting the commission down by 2/3. And when I talked to this agent, I said, hey, when we spoke before, just to let you know, they're using their VA loan, 100% financing. We're asking for closing costs because they don't have a lot liquid. And so you come back with this offer first where you're cutting all this out.
Right.
It makes zero sense.
Like the important parts.
Right. Which, my buyer was level-headed, didn't get super emotionally invested on that part. We ended up, long story short, over 2 weeks executing $7,000 above asking price. We got closing costs worked in there. The commission worked out, and then inspections happen. And they do inspection. This house was built in 1978, and the house had a lot of deferred maintenance, which as a listing agent, you need to be ready for deferred maintenance on a house, especially if your client didn't take care of it, to have realistic talks. So the roof needed to be replaced, maybe at worst case scenario, just, a lot of repairs done to make sure it's 12 years old, to make sure that it's insurable. Yep. And it wasn't cooling within the differential range. It was way off. Had 2 window units upstairs, so it tells you that the house was already. They knew they were struggling. And then there was electrical panel. There was a lot of it, and then the.
It doesn't affect them. They don't get glass shards in their lungs.
No, they live off of that. Yeah, that makes them superhuman.
They get bigger.
But not even worse about that is that they pee and poop everywhere
100%.
and contaminate it, which is not great for your environment.
No.
And so we asked for that to be remediated. And so they come back and say, we'll do whatever the roofer suggests. Okay, check. We have an $8,000 bid quote for pest remediation and new insulation. And we'll only give you half of it. We'll only split 50-50. And we're not doing anything with AC. So my clients, we go back and forth. My clients increase their offer 307 to 314.
Okay.
And all we're asking for is repair the AC. We don't need a replacement. Repair it. Repair the blower. $2,300 quote.
Yeah, and they raised it by 7,000. Wow.
By 7,000 and do the full pest.
Yeah.
They come back and they said, "We appreciate it. No, thank you."
Wow.
By the way, this seller was went under contract on another home, contingent on the sale of their house.
Oh, so they have their own dominoes to fall.
Yes, and
So they have a vested interest in getting this done.
look, without throwing the agent under the bus, in my opinion, like our job, when we talked about this on Tamara's podcast, our job as a fiduciary is to not just be we're not a messenger.
Yeah.
They hired us to get the home sold and to have realistic expectation talks, because in that particular part of town, in that neighborhood, it's 65 to 75 plus days on market just to sell a house over there.
Yeah. And your buyer's got plenty more options, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, we're actually looking at much better options.
So I never like to throw the agent on the bus, like you said. Sometimes you just run into a difficult seller. But this is 99% of the value that we bring as agents is the agency part of it, right? Helping you navigate and make the best decisions. What I will tell you off the top, I would as far as the agent on the other side, how I would, maybe coach this person moving forward. The seller has no business being surprised about those types of things that they're being asked for. Right? If you have a home that you're listing on the market that is built in the 70s, as an agent, right, part of your job is making sure that you're setting expectations for the condition of the home, everything about it, that it's represented, and that your seller understands what a buyer is most likely to ask for, right? So going into a conversation and the seller not really having a pretty sure idea that we're going to ask for this entire rat infestation upstairs to be taken care of. The AC that's being helped out by window units right now is probably something that we're going to ask for. The roof being however many years old, 12 years old, I think you said. These are all things that when I accept an offer, this is a great feedback for this agent. When I accept an offer of any price, it doesn't matter. My seller should know before we go into the repair negotiations, what are the things that a buyer is most likely going to ask for at any price? And if that's something that is surprising to me as a seller, like, oh, I accepted this lower offer, I shouldn't have to worry about any of these things, then me as an agent, I didn't do a good enough job of having a good enough conversation up front to set the expectations. No matter what price we agree to in the initial contract, that is absent the condition of the home. We're still going to negotiate repairs. And so where a lot of these things get sideways, and we talked about this on Tamara's podcast yesterday, terminations are up. Contracts are falling apart at a much higher clip than they usually are. I believe most of that is because agents are not setting good expectations with their clients on both sides. And that's most of what we do.
You know what, and we're a little bit off of what we were going to cover all, and which is fine. You know what we did back and you started in 2011, right? Yeah. So we were on that tail end of the recession, but still within the realm of a lot of the training and coaching that was happening back then. Do you remember a lot of agents talking about doing the pre-inspections?
Yeah, like
listing?
the certified listings and pre-inspections. Yeah,
certified listings, which you would advise your seller and say, hey, this is going to help you sell it faster. This is going to give a buyer, especially when we're competing against everything else. And this would be a suggestion today. I'm going to go back to my team because this is just something I was kind of thrown around in my head earlier, is that the certified listing where you have your seller pay for an inspection. Most inspectors will do a general inspection, not a full deep one they would do for a buyer, for relatively inexpensive. I think it's half the cost, at least that they did back then. And then you have this report that you can upload to the MLS, that you can put into the private remarks, that you can say, hey, this is a certified listing. You want to know what that is? Find out more. Right. We already have an inspection done on this house. So you can at least have a general idea of what you're walking into. Yep. Because my clients did say, he's like, this is kind of backwards. He's like, why would I, knowing what these problems were, I probably wouldn't have made an offer, or knowing that if I would have seen this report and they weren't willing to cover this or work on it, I wouldn't have come.
Wouldn't waste that time. Yeah.
Right. So now they've wasted money on an inspection.
Yeah.
They've exhausted mental energy connecting with his house, hoping that this was the one, maybe telling their friends and family they're under contract.
Right.
And then they have that letdown of having to terminate and move on. And now we've got this kind of built up skepticism.
Yeah, and they've lost a few weeks.
Yes.
You know, and now they're going to start the process over again on a different
Yeah.
house. You make a really good point. People haven't done that in a long time, doing the pre-inspection, and then Haas Pratt used to preach this a lot. Do the pre-inspection, and then if you want to go above and beyond, make it a certified listing, do the pre-inspection, make the repairs, then do the post-inspection. So now you have basically a clean slate, and now you give yourself the opportunity. Anything that you didn't repair, you can negotiate up front. We are aware of it. We have disclosed it. In your offer, you now know about it. I've provided you the pre and post inspection up front. So make your offer contingent on the fact that this is the condition you know you're getting the house in.
Yeah.
That goes a long way. That would, I mean, if listing agents were doing that more often right now, a lot more deals would stay together.
Well, not even that, but how we're needing, again, in a higher inventory market that we're starting to see, where we want to attract the buyers.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a magnet, that's your magnet. Mm-hmm. Right. And honestly, it should get to the point where maybe that should become the norm. Right now, that's the exception. You do it enough times, and then that becomes the norm. Like how often, when you go and buy a new car, or a pre-owned vehicle. Yeah. I mean, look, they've done a great job branding it. You ask for the Carfax.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. You try to look for the history. This is what crypto and blockchain's trying to do for not just the car industry, but the real estate industry, where you can see the entire history of who's owned it, the reports that have been associated within that blockchain technology.
That's a good point. I really agree. I mean, the same thing, you could bring an inspector to CarMax and still buy a car. You could still have it inspected if you want, but usually you don't. I agree. If I was making an offer, if I was looking at a home that'd been on the market for 30 days, let's just say, and you have an inspection report that's 45 days old, and you have invoices or receipts and evidence from all the repairs you made based on that inspection report, as a buyer, I probably wouldn't even do my own inspection. As long as I knew it was a reputable inspection company, I've been in the business for a long time, I know whether it's BS or not. I'd probably feel comfortable negotiating that deal just based on the inspection you did and all the evidence that you provided. I don't think I would have a problem with that. I think that probably is the way we should do it. It makes way more sense.
And then again, the agents that jump on this now, will have a competitive leg up advantage of, why should I hire you? This is what I do differently.
Yeah. 95.3% list to sale ratio in DFW right now. One of the really good hooks that you could have in your listing presentation is I certified all my listings, and this is the process we go through, right? We inspect our homes up front because we want to leave less to chance on the backside. Right. Normally in a deal, there's going to be two negotiations. You're going to negotiate the contract, and then you're going to go negotiate the condition during the repairs. Right. I want to minimize the effects of that second negotiation as much as possible. So I offer a pathway to what I call a certified listing. Right. We inspect the house ahead of time. We have a conversation about repairs that we want to make ahead of time to make sure the home is in as good a condition as possible. That's going to increase the offers that you get. It's also going to minimize the amount of repairs that buyers ask for in the back end. That's a differentiating factor. That's something I don't think a lot of agents are doing in listing appointments right now, but I guarantee it'll reduce your days on market, and it'll make for much happier sellers in the end because you're not coming to them with a bunch of bad news.
In an all stock transaction.
Yep.
The good news is Fathom stock surged 82%, which I didn't have any, unfortunately.
And
it was a company that did $420 million in revenue in 2025. Which means they were acquired for 0.13x times their revenue, roughly what a South Lake listing closes for. So
that's pretty funny.
So yeah,
it's got jokes.
Yeah. So when you think about that, Fathom has roughly about 14,135 agents. They've got their own kind of proprietary, technology platform called IntelliAgent. They do have mortgage, the Encompass lending, and Versus title as well. They have an insurance arm. And they were also running a $20 million annual net loss and had already taken a $2 million bridge loan from BB&B back in March. So realistically, this needed to happen. And so, what you're kind of seeing here is that Bed Bath & Beyond had already lent money to this. So basically, they're like the hard money lender coming in and taking it over.
Okay, we're like I didn't read this part on the fly. So a couple of things. One, I made a comment yesterday, just probably like I thought this was satire at first. I don't mean that in a mean way. Just didn't see it coming. You know, there's been so many acquisitions lately. It sounded almost like a joke. This is not the original Bed Bath & Beyond.
No.
So when Overstock bought the brand, they basically rebranded them as Bed Bath & Beyond Inc. They shut down all the stores. So technically, it's not the company that it was before. That I think that's important.
But you know who actually runs Bed Bath & Beyond now? Marcus Lemonis.
Okay, so that was the part that I was just reading. Is Marcus Lemonis, so the same Marcus Lemonis?
Yes.
He's the CEO of Overstock or Bed Bath & Beyond?
Bed Bath & Beyond. And Camper, was it Camper World? Or he's
Pull him up. I want to see everything he owns now.
Yeah. So, and he had a television show at one time.
Yes. Is this did he buy Bed Bath & Beyond in an episode of The Prophet? I had no idea that Marcus Lemonis was the CEO. I love this guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. And August, okay, so we were, this just happened.
Yeah.
It's not like he's been CEO for a decade. Okay, in August 2025, in his new capacity as executive chairman of Bed Bath & Beyond, he hasn't been there since.
Well, think about this. Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh, so January 5th, he became the CEO.
Yeah, so Bed Bath & Beyond, when they filed for bankruptcy and went bankrupt, when Overstock bought them, they didn't buy the stores. They didn't get the stores in the inventory. They just got the intellectual brand, right? So they got they basically paid 20-something million for the Bed Bath & Beyond name and brand. And then Overstock became that. And then Marcus Lemonis then became CEO back in January of 2025.
Yeah.
And so the whole thought process, because look, the running joke was I posted the Frank the Tank from Old School in there, like his quote where he's like, what are you going to do this weekend? And maybe Bed Bath & Beyond if we have time.
Tried to watch Old School the other day with Lady. She's never seen it. They wanted me to pay $7.99 on Amazon Prime.
No,
I never do that. I can't do it.
No, but when we think about it, like Bed Bath, like the whole thought process, because Marcus has Camper World or Camper RV World or something like that. And
they own Kirkland's.
Kirkland's,
I didn't know they owned
Kirkland's. They did a deal. I don't know if it's ownership, but they have a partnership deal with Container Store.
Yeah.
So their thought process is building the everything home strategy, the three pillars. You have home ownership transaction, the Omni-Channel retail, and now you got the home services. So they own Kirkland's. They are acquiring the Container Store, the Alpha. I think that's a closet. Alpha Closet Designs and Closet Works. So Fathom in their mind fills that pillar. So the vision is own the customer from home search to mortgage to closing to furniture delivery to closet organization, right? So, and Marcus Lemonis talks about this, which is what we talked about on multiple shows and becoming the Berkshire Hathaway, which is why we talked about our Get Residual Agent Network, where you can go, just go to residualagent.com and see what we're doing to help agents become their own Berkshire Hathaway, to become their own, we'll call it Bed Bath & Beyond style business now, because everyone's doing this. And Marcus Lemonis talked about it. He said homeownership remains fragmented still. People buy from one company, finance through another, furnish through a third, renovate with somebody else. And so the bet is that he can own all four of these. And they just opened up their first co-branded store, Container Store in Bed Bath & Beyond location in Fort Worth.
Oh, it's in Fort Worth. That's cool. I love this acquisition. I think that it's so smart. I don't think it's going to work out at all the way that they have presented it to the public. I think Marcus probably knows that too. I just think the customer journey just doesn't work that way at all.
Right now, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, in general, I don't think it does. I think if you just look at the percentage of people that visit Bed Bath & Beyond online or in store, the percentage of them that are in their home ownership or they're in pre-home buying, I don't think it's any different than Walmart or any other store out there. The reason I love this acquisition has nothing to do with the verticals necessarily. Like the idea of we want to own them kind of soup to nuts and Bed Bath & Beyond and like that. kind of home goods vertical, I don't think that fits nearly as cleanly as, mortgage, title, insurance, brokerage, all that type of stuff. I just think this is a great deal because you bought 14,000 licenses for $53 million. That's the part that is just astonishing to me here. This is very, I think, clear. The real estate agent industry is shrinking and will continue to. Their per agent productivity is probably down. Their business model just doesn't create enough revenue in lean markets. And they were going to lose agents like crazy and probably close their doors. And Marcus Lemonis just bought them for pennies on the dollar at probably cheap enough that if they retrofit the business model to be more profitable by cutting a lot of expenses out and maybe changing their revenue model with their agents, even if half of them stay, then they're going to be a profitable business. That's a really smart move, but it doesn't have anything to do with Bed Bath & Beyond.
So I think it's taken a long time. I have two trains of thoughts here. The first one is you talk about change the commission model or the revenue model, right? For the longest time, we've talked about that transactional flat fee model not working. And there hasn't been a domino yet to show. This may be that first domino, and I'm talking about the transactional flat fee brokerage that charges I think they charge $500, whatever they charge per closing, and they grew to 14,000 agents. It works until it doesn't, because what you have there is there's when you scale, when you increase, it can work at a very, very small clip. You got 1,000 agents, 800 agents. If you're not charging a monthly fee, then you could probably keep it going a little bit. But, for the most part, what you don't hear about is, you didn't hear about massive agent growth within that company or organization. You're not hearing what is the capture rate on their title and their insurance and their mortgage company. Because, if they had a stronger increase in their mortgage company capture rate and their title company and insurance capture rate, they wouldn't be losing $20 million as a whole.
Right.
And so does that mean that you've got a fragmented agent base that really wasn't bought into the brokerage? They were just hanging their license there because it's cheap.
So this can be the death knell, right? How you make money from on the transaction side, I don't think is nearly as relevant as a recurring revenue model.
Sure.
Right? Whether you charge flat fee for transaction or you charge splits or whatever, understand as an agent, the office fee or the monthly fee that your brokerage just charge you is valuable, because that is truly what allows them to build a predictable, sustainable business that provides you tools and allows you somewhere to hang your license. It just is. Right? When you're doing budgeting as a brokerage, you've got to know what is your baseline for revenue coming in, right? And then all of your A, B, and C scenarios from there. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if Fathom had a monthly fee. I don't know. We could look that up. But yeah, we have talked about this before, that the model that we really never have seen work long-term is flat fee, no monthlies, nothing like that. You're so vulnerable to market environments there that's how your brokerage really can just go out of business overnight.
Yeah. And that's the concern I have with agents is, we look at the cheapest brokerage options. And when we start to surround ourselves with that, then you get what you surround yourself with. And I thought the founder of Fathom, Josh Hartley's super smart guy. He built
really
something. He built something amazing.
It's not the first business he's built.
No, it's not. And he did a great job. And I don't, I would love to have him on the show. And if he's allowed to talk about it, I'd love to know his thoughts about this overall. But, when we think about this in general, is that, you were talking about Marcus Lemonis. It's probably not going to work out the way he thinks it is. Right.
I want to be very clear. The way that they're presenting it, what he thinks is probably different than what the front-facing marketing of it is.
Fair enough.
He's a real smart guy.
Yes, he is. Let me ask you this. It won't work right now because the fragmented space has not been trained and prepped. Right. But the longer that you have someone in your ecosystem, it's like the Dan Kennedy marketing funnels, right? In the system is like, you can build, once you capture them, you got to build that high fence and that moat around it so very few can escape.
Yeah.
And so that when you're continue to market on them, and they're like, hey, I'm sure they would do surveys, or they start training their customer service reps at the Container Store there in Fort Worth, in Bed Bath & Beyond, to start asking a question: what has you coming in? Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you remodeling? Whatever that may be. Now they're looking at the entire platform and ecosystem.
Yep.
And is this now the start? Because we've seen Rocket Mortgage and Redfin Real Estate. I've seen their first ad saying, if you use the combo, find out how to save up to $12,000.
Yeah.
Right. So now we are starting to see that beginning step towards the complete package,
right,
and then driving down the overall cost, which is why we're going to I'm going to hammer this until I'm blue in the face, until people just unsubscribe and tune out, because what you don't get and what you don't understand is you need to capture every revenue piece of the transaction.
100%.
Even if you're a small agent, you don't need to be a Bed Bath & Beyond. You don't need to be a Berkshire Hathaway. All you got to do is go to Get Residual Agent or residualagent.com.
Get Residual Agent.
Get residualagent.com. Get residualagent.com. Go there. Just sign up on the list. Understand what we are doing. The reason why we're doing this is kind of perfect timing, because we started talking about this last year, even before all this stuff coming out. But now it's moving faster and faster and faster. Is that the point of this? Is like, you as an agent have the opportunity. You control that chess piece.
Yep.
You should get a piece of as much of that pie as you can. And it starts out with protecting your database, not letting Bed Bath & Beyond get it. You're not controlling them going to that store once they launch it, or going on their website. And now what are they doing? When they buy something from there, they have all their information.
Well, and they're taking a piece of your pie, right? So this is, I mean, you make a great point. We talked about this with the Taylor Morrison acquisition 2 weeks ago or last week, right? Let's just say this is how it plays out over time. A customer's journey begins at either virtually or in person at the Bed Bath & Beyond / Container Store megastore. And they're at checkout, and the rep is like, are you moving anytime soon? Whatever it is, right? Bed Bath & Beyond now generates that lead, okay? Their customer journey is what put them down funnel to where they're now being introduced to a real estate professional to represent them in the purchase or sale of their home. Bed Bath & Beyond has generated that lead out of their stack. They are a customer that walked into a store. We talked about this last time, that every time you have the verticals now, then you only have to acquire the customer once. Whereas every service is fragmented, they all have 100% acquisition cost of that customer, right? Do you think that Bed Bath & Beyond aligned agent who works for Fathom Realty is getting the same commission on that deal? They are not. Your commission will be going down because they're giving you that customer. So that's going to be the Redfin Rocket scenario as well, right? How do you save $12,000 by using both of us? We don't pay our agents as much.
Yep.
We don't pay our lenders as much. We take away the cost of customer acquisition for them. By the way, it doesn't mean that as an agent, you won't make a lot of money, because you probably won't have the same expenses and customer acquisition costs.
But do you know who makes more? The top. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
The
Save
top eight. Oh, 100%.
$12,000, and guess who's getting cut? The agent, the mortgage, the title person.
Right.
And so, like, if that doesn't make you angry and doesn't want you to figure out that other piece, then maybe the industry's not for you. Like, I don't say that to be mean. I say that to say, open up your eyes. Let's expand the mindset here and understand what is happening. Because if you build your own moat, you're going to be able to have a better relationship with that clientele, because you're closer than that big corporation.
Yeah,
is,
100%.
right? The only thing that those corporations can offer are discounts. They're not truly offering the relationship. They're not inviting them out to family nights, to game nights, to the ball games, or whatever that may be. They're not throwing the client relationship parties. All they're saying is, hey, Brian, you come shop at Bed Bath & Beyond. I know that you just have a newborn. You've got this little girl, because they're going to collect all this information.
Oh, yeah.
Right? By the way, come over here. Are you wanting to upgrade your house?
Yep.
We can get you discounts, this, and this. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond was notorious before they went bankrupt for always mailing out the oversized coupons.
100%.
Yes.
At the end of the day, people still want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. You need to be investing in your relationships in your database at a significant clip right now. Just truly. I can't hammer that enough. I hate to put this on you, Jesse, but I do want to do like a comparison. How many agents did Remax have when Real acquired them? And can you see what their like revenue versus profits were? I just want to get an idea of how good a deal this was for the profit.
Well, we can look at, I'm making it tough on Jesse because he's got to switch back over to me on the camera, but we can look at like, you know, the main thing while this is getting pulled up is that, you know, brokerages are on sale and it's buying season for the brokerage to own a brokerage business. And Remax was down 85% from its peak value. And they had 145,000 agents approximately, but
right.
You got to remember they're international too.
Right. That's
they're
globally.
big.
Yeah.
They're big globally. And Redfin was down 95% from its peak when they were purchased, when Rocket Mortgage bought them. Anywhere Real Estate was down 95% when they got acquired by Compass. So the industry, and then look, Fathom was acquired at 0.13x times multiplier, right? Multiple. So like they didn't even get a 1x multiplier on their revenue.
Okay, so this is wow. Okay, so Remax, for everything that we can see here, they had 2.3 billion in annual revenue, 157 million in EBITDA, against a $20 million loss for Fathom. They were purchased for 880 million, and Fathom was purchased for 53. Basically 10 times the amount of agents, but only 60% of the value per agent. If you just did 10 times 53 million, like 530 million against 880 million, that's like 60% of the value. So basically every Fathom license was purchased for 60% of what a Remax license was purchased for. I don't know if it's a good deal or a bad deal. There's more variables like how much, you know, what the revenue per license is and stuff like that. But I just think that's, I wanted to think about it in those terms. Like that's interesting. I think that this was a really smart move by Bed Bath & Beyond, Overstock, Marcus Lemonis. I think it's a really smart move. How it plays out long term, it could go a lot of ways as far as like the customer journey. I think Nick's probably right. I just think that, man, Fathom, it seemed like, was going to get acquired by somebody.
Well, they had to be. They were burning, shut down, right? They were $20 million burn. But who else is out there? Like if we start looking at, you know,
we talked a few episodes ago about like what our predictions for who's buyers and who's sellers. I didn't think Bed Bath & Beyond was coming into the equation.
Well, I don't even think we had Fathom. We didn't have Fathom on there as a seller. Like, you know, and honestly, all their information is public. So we probably could have done a little bit of digging to find out that they were burning cash and taking a loan because that's public information. So, you know, if we look at it, Fathom agents pay about $700 a year plus a $465 per transaction fee to be there.
Yeah.
Right. And there was no, you know, they went there. They went there for the economics of it. And when we look at how the real estate industry is right now, going into when you traditionally and typically when you go to one of those kind of budget friendly brokerages, you typically see less sales happening.
What's interesting about, I want to like tell agents this because we see this in the Facebook group all the time. Like, who are the brokerages that don't charge any fees because I just want a place to hang my license because I'm part-time? It's like, but your broker's full-time, right? So you're looking for a place to not have to pay anything, but your broker still has to show up to work every day and give you a place to do deals. So just understand you get what you pay for. And I've never understood. I would never, as a business person, I don't know how I would ever go into business with no sort of guaranteed recurring revenue as a broker. I think that'd be really difficult. Because yes, again, the agents that do tend to go and gravitate towards those brokerages, they do so because they're not really trying to grow their businesses. They normally are doing it on the side or have some sort of other job and it's part-time or whatever. But you as the broker, you're still running a full-time business. So without that guaranteed base of recurring revenue, you're just always vulnerable. That's a really hard way to run a business.
Sure is. I mean, last of this is, think about it this way. Overstock.com, an e-commerce brand, bought a dead brand for $21.3 million.
So what do you think happens next?
Then they took on that brand because it did have, I mean, brand name is something.
Oh, you mean when they bought Bed Bath & Beyond?
Right?
I know.
Yeah,
How was that?
the brand name is something. And then that led them into now for $53 million buying Fathom.
Yeah.
Which, you know, from a brand name, you know, I don't think they have a big brand name from a consumer side. A lot of agents probably know them. They're in 40 something plus states.
Yeah.
14,000 licensees. But they're in the Overstock and their leadership, and now Marcus Lemonis, they're in the industry of buying distressed brands and turning them around.
Yeah. I think we're just going to see more and more of that. I'm curious now that this has kind of just opened up my eyes as to what is possible out there now. What do you think? Where do you think we go from here? I think Mr. Beast buys Exit Realty. I don't know. Like I don't know.
I'm surprised. How is Exit still?
I don't know how many licenses Exit has right now. Jesse needs to get his microphone.
Yeah,
back.
where's your mic, Jesse? Yeah, I mean, look, I think that the changing of the guard, we know it's already started. It's happening, and I mean, it's going to be a fun, wild ride. And I would say, one, it gives us something to talk about on the show. We're still gonna sell real estate. We're still gonna do our stuff. We're still gonna be here for your property management needs, because you're not seeing a lot of the big waves in property management. So, which is good and bad. The bad news is a lot of property managers aren't making money. So if you're referring business to a smaller property management company, just know that they're hurting. They're struggling. They don't have enough resources, enough people to keep that watchful eye on your client's property.
Yeah,
and that's a concern to me. Homeward doesn't have that problem. They've got tons and tons of resources. They've got the manpower. And so you need to connect with Duncan and Dana, the head property managers over there at Homeward at DFW. Just go to homewarddfw.com and submit your referral form. They'll take great care of your clients, even if you just need a lease up happening, right? Don't mess up the lease ups. And then from remodeling, your clients are going to remodel, especially if you want to get a house sold today. Either drop the price drastically or have them remodel. ProCare Home Solutions has some great financing options. Just go to procaredfw.com, submit your information in there, and talk with Chris Troop. Find out what kind of financing options that they can offer your clients to get a full remodel to make sure that you are selling the best property on the block.
Love it. Another episode in the books. Invest in your relationships, and everything else will fall into place. Get up every day and keep working. Listen to the show because it's fun for us to talk about, but don't get fixated on these things. Don't spend lots of time dwelling on these things. Get up, make your calls, build your relationships, go sell a house. Everything else is going to fall into place. And we'll see you next week.
DFW, turn it up.